Hello, for more research on things to invest. Talk about investing, finance, and professional development. For today's items only, the investment talk today will be Ethereum ETH. So it's my second posting as of today. With respect to recording time of September 24th on Friday at 12:19 p.m. on Eastern Time. Ethereum current trading $2,892, down about 6% so far. With respect to the relatively sizable correction across the whole crypto market, stemmed from the China crypto crackdown news that broke out at 6:45 or 6:30 a.m. this morning. And with respect to the media affectation front, it's just a lot of regurgitation news on this specific topic, right? So I know with this volatility, it's definitely not the most appetizing, especially for Friday as well as we're heading towards this weekend. Also with the weekend affectation that people typically like to take some profits during the weekend to just have that safe haven effect, right? So I want to just come back onto the chart to see how we're trending right now. Also read up the news that's been kind of blowing up, I would say, in the last 5 hours so far, ever since my first posting. Okay, so with respect to Ethereum, as I'm recording as of 12:20 p.m. on the Eastern Time, it's currently $2,886, down about 6.10% so far. With respect to the news front on Fox News, talk about on 16 minutes ago, Bitcoin Ethereum XRP tumbles on China crackdown. So this is just another regurgitation news that we've heard earlier today. And then Market Watch as well, talking about with respect to the notable for PBOC call out of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Tether, stem from obviously the Chinese crackdown as well. Okay, and then some other news talk about why it's crashing, why is it doing this, why are we selling off all of a sudden, why is it such a huge intensification of this crackdown all of a sudden. I think the intensification is really coming from the media embellishments, right? This is something we've been hearing so far. The mining activities, and also with respect to just the asset, diversification and allocations in a global perspective, China definitely has a relatively sizable concentration, right? There are a lot of whales coming up from China that holds crypto assets. So with their enforcements, also with the the governmental how would you say, characteristics, they are a communist country, to enforce some regulatory pressure, aka this crackdown, is not something that is unforeseeable. This is something that is expected, right? And the negative pressure has been occurring across the country and across globally, right? Just to keep tabs, last Sunday, we heard from Christine Lagarde from the European Central Bank on her negative depictions around crypto. And then subsequently on the FOMC meeting that happened, during this week, mid this week on Wednesday and Tuesday, we heard from Jerome Powell on the crypto bills as well, right? And also we heard from Gary Gensler, Don Beyer with his crypto, objective bill, the 57 pages one, listing out basically what to do, what not to do, what is the compliance infrastructure going forward for crypto assets. So now we hear from China, from the Asian Pacific region now. So globally, it's definitely a lot of political pushback. Obviously, with that corresponds with all of the fear mongering from the media front, driving some relatively sizable sell-off, right? And I would say we sold off quite significantly from the $4,000 mark to, at one point yesterday, we hit the 2,750. I know some platform actually hit to the 2,650 as well, which is not a surprise, right? Because these are the substantive consolidation level that we've been talking about on the technical front. Okay, so with respect to news, a lot of repeating news, talk about the same topic over and over again, so no need to really mention it. So with respect to the Ethereum, just to talk about this asset specifically, we reversed back up a little bit, right? Earlier today, we went up to the 2,900, but subsequently reversed back down. And I think this is more of like the West Coast affectation, as people on the West Coast start to wake up. They see that we had the sell-off earlier today and subsequently pumped that up by the East Coaster, but reversed back down from the selling pressure from the other side of the country. So right now, the bearish sentiment is still around. There's no indicator of reversal yet. We are on the scale of 38.29 out of 70. But in terms of MACD, there's no curvature forming a reversal at the moment. So we are still expected to sell off. And with respect to current level right now, we're just floating in air right now. If you look at it, we're not touching any lines right now. We touched the line that we have identified earlier today, 2,750, right? And subsequently reversed back up because that was the dip, right? A lot of people have been noticing that 2,750 is the dip if you watch the video. But it's not really because I saw this coming. It's because this is the level that most people find to be the most appetizing. Okay, so there's a lot of interest at this level, and that's why we bought back up. But it's mainly driven by public investors. So that says a lot about the market dynamics, right? Typically, public investors are not the most influential in terms of the supply and demand dynamics, right? So still in the bear zone, still something you want to watch out for. I did buy the dip at 2,750 because the logical thing to do. Okay, so with respect to Bitcoin, we touched the 40,000, which makes sense, and then subsequently reversed back up. Same dynamics as Ethereum. So with respect to Dogecoin, it's a little bit less prominent. This is kind of like a head and shoulder pattern, but it's not as obviously prominent as Bitcoin and Ethereum respectively. But the dip again is the 20 cents, right? Which we subsequently got bought up, and people bought the dip on it. So same comparable in terms of the reversal dynamics. Cardano is a little bit interesting. It's less severe in terms of the sell-off across the board. We did hit all the way to the $2.06 earlier today, but subsequently immediately got back up. But in terms of is this really like a buying signal? Are we reversing? I would say no, because we are still forming this head and shoulder pattern. And we will have some drag effect from the other coins as well. So Cardano, again, the $2 will be a first level dollar cost average, 187, 145, 130. I will probably just touch the yellow level, to be honest with you. But that's just my risk aversion, obviously. Solana. Yeah, Solana is not a buy level at the moment right now. This is not a call. You should not even be touching this at the moment because we are still in the neutral level in terms of leaning more of an upper echelon of the overbought level with the 50 out of 70. So it's not terrible, but it's not good either. In terms of MACD, we're still forming a curvature downward with we don't have any signs of reversing yet. So ideally, again, right, the 114, 113, and the 96, and for me, $67 would be the level dollar cost average at. XRP, yeah, same thing as the other ones that we talked about. Again, 88 was the dip, right? If we break that, 78.69. Polkadot. Polkadot is not really a head and shoulder yet, so it's interesting. But in terms of is this a good level to buy yet, I think the dip was basically 25 or 30, depending on your risk tolerance. But we are still on the scale of basically 50 out of 70. So, and on top of the fact the MACD is not really curving up yet, so there's no signal of reversing yet. Okay. So just took a look at the cheat sheet right now. It seems like we are on the anger phase. And the anger phase is not just going to be flatline or completely angry, just sell off, fall off the cliff type of way, right? We are currently asking these questions right now. Why, did the government do this to us, right? I think multiple governments, right? The European Central Bank, the U.S. Federal Reserve, the Chinese Communist Party on the political side, right? So this is something that we're questioning right now. And people are also questioning, why the whales shorting the market? Things like that, right? Because they want to buy at the dips, obviously. So that's really an obvious reason. And we're going to endure a little bit more of this depression mode or anger mode. But as you get to that depression mode, hope is going to come back in. Optimism is going to come back in later. Beliefs are going to come back in. And next thing you know, we're going to go back into the cycle all over again. So this is just the early inning of the pain that you're enduring. Right, they're slowly ripping off the bandage right now. You can see how long the bandage is, if you look at it metaphorically, obviously. So with respect to the level of dollar cost average, again for Ethereum, as I would say, but with respect to 2,750, 2,450, do not wait until 2,450. Wait within the level. These are good levels. It's attractive and steal, right? Because again, I'm not a wizard. I do not predict the future. I can just tell you what I see in front of the charts. And it's logical to be buying within the frame of reference, right? Because if you are only, eyeing the level of 2,450, then you're technically being a little bit of reverse greed, if that makes any sense, right? You're like, oh, I want to buy the better level, a better dip, so the risk is much better in my favor. But that's an emotional feeling, right? I think once you get to that level, make the right decisions, make a prompt one, and this is a prepared, calculated risk management move. So hopefully that makes sense. Happy to dive into a little bit more to explain that a little bit further. But I appreciate you for dropping by again. Again, the bandage is slowly ripping off, right? And this is something we have known for a while. We've been talking about this for a month and a half now. So nothing to worry about, nothing to be depressed or angry about, especially for the fact that you're not even surprised that it's happening right now, right? Really appreciate you. I'm going to head off to my next meeting now, so I have to prep for it. But really appreciate you, and stay tuned for us to come up. Take care. Bye.